South African learners are failing and our teachers are in crisis. This is according to Alison Scott, executive head of Bellavista School, who argues that teachers' ability to inability, I should say, to focus on instruction reflects structural constraints rather than a lack of skill or commitment. She says teachers are burning out, not because they can't teach, but because they're expected to be counsellors, social workers, administrators, mediators, disciplinarians, all at the same time. Scott says it's time for an honest national conversation about the systematic barriers that prevent teachers from doing what they are trained to do, and that's to teach. Well, she's in the studio to discuss this issue further. It's good to have you, and it is an important conversation I think we're about to have here. So thank you so much for your time. We talk about a crisis. What does a crisis look like according to where we're at right now in terms of the teacher?
I think attrition from the profession. It's quite interesting to see what's happening. Young people are not staying long in the job if they come in. Older teachers are holding on to retirement. So we've got attrition of the mentoring, of the systems of teaching, the backbone of teaching, and the enthusiasm. The teachers are also all these things, like I mentioned. You don't have time to do a geography lesson or maths when something's come in from break or a parent has stormed down. They're so multitasking across multidisciplinary factors. They're in a crisis because which one do they serve first? And teachers are often it. They are what the child has that's going to show up and come to school every day. So I think there are many factors placing them under emotional duress, which will impact on teaching, but there's also impact to teaching time, actual contact time with the children. How do they deliver results?
Yeah, and that's the problem, because we do judge teachers, we really do, and that is something that we see because we keep on criticizing our literacy rate. I mean, we see what we talk about, you know, reading for understanding, which that whole survey really upset us all. It was shocking. Our maths rate, our physical science rate, and we point to the teachers saying they're not doing their job. But what you're saying is, what actually is their job? Because they've got so much on their shoulders that teaching the actual subject is almost being overshadowed by everything else.
But it totally is. We taught how to deliver curriculum. So how are we going to use a good pedagogy? How are we going to involve the learners? We've got 21st century skills to develop, right? Critical thinking skills, collaborative communication. But put 30 or 40 children in that same venue who are dysregulated. This could be anything from hungry, what did they leave behind at home? Social troubles, it could be emotional troubles at home, family structure breakdown. The school itself could be feeling quite under threat. I mean, we hear the stories of teachers being bullied. It's physical bullying. By the time you regulate all those people, those young people, whether they're 5 or 18, you've got this much lesson time left. And then I think it's easy to say we've got to cover the work, here's the workbook, worksheet, work through it on yourself at home, we'll mark it tomorrow. So children don't get feedback because teachers don't have time. Teachers haven't got time to prepare thorough, meaningful instructional lessons.
And overcrowding.
They're rushing.
They do rush through it, and overcrowding. I mean, we know, I mean, I'll give just, I don't even think 40, I think 45 would be, that is way too much in a class, but unfortunately, that is not even, I mean, you could go up to 60 kids sitting in a class. That are
sharing a pencil between 3, right?
You see, these are very, very big failures, and you've said teachers are expected to parent children as well. And this is where a problem comes in, is that
substantial.
I mean, we come from child-headed households as well, where these kids go to school, they don't have parents. And the teacher is probably the only adult figure they have in their lives.
Correct. That absence of parenting is massive. Well, one, a school can only be a partnership. So collectively, the teachers, collectively, the school, partners with the parent. The idea that a village raises a child. There's good trust. There's trust that your values at home, your discipline at home, your involvement and interest in your child is going to be high, or as high as you possibly can make it. Okay? There is also intended a trust that the teachers might know what they're doing. They've chosen the profession because they're invested in the care profession. They're interested in children. They're interested in the potential of children. How could I play a part for them, for their future lifestyle, and look at that global purpose? Teachers think about, what citizens am I putting out to our country at this time? You know, COVID was an interesting thing because teachers garnered a huge amount of respect from parents. Huge.
Yeah.
They carried it. They carried it for the kids. At least the school had a safety about it and a consistency about it. Those children are developmentally disrupted. So right now, we've got a lot of very dysregulated children going on. And that's a long story around what might have happened in the developmental pathway. But teachers have found themselves from this admiration to service delivery.
Yeah.
Service delivery. What are your marks going to be? And it's not only in child-headed households or in areas that are low on educational resource. This is also in elite private schools.
Absolutely.
So there's plenty of material.
Yeah.
And so often the barrier to the learning, or I'd say teaching and learning, is but one cycle. You can't have learning without teaching. You can't have teaching without learning.
Yeah.
In the absence of that, having a partner, someone that, a trusting relationship, you just can't progress with the child. How do you build a work ethic if the parent's not really interested?
Yeah.
How do you allow them to experience the disappointment of a test, but we're going to work harder and revise for tomorrow?
Yeah.
If the parent is simply angry that they had a bad test.
Yeah.
I think parents everywhere, the words that come off is, I just want my child to be happy. And that's good. But as a human being, are you happy every day, all day?
Yeah.
Or have you had some hardships, hard lessons, disappointments, that are wrestling to master something? And teachers are not being given an opportunity to take children of all ages through that learning process.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, I'm gathering from you, there's just so much expected from teachers and schools. But what I want to know is the profession under threat? Because at the end of the day, I mean, what you're explaining, teaching was always a calling. It is a calling. And unfortunately, with all of these challenges that you're talking about, and teachers not actually being able to do the job that they learnt for and the skills that they've acquired to teach, but they've got to do so much more before they have 5 minutes to actually teach. Are we seeing less and less and less people moving into teaching?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
That's
and some who are entering teaching are not very well trained to teach.
Yeah.
Almost like a default option. It maybe wasn't the first choice, perhaps. So a serial educator's got maybe some more drive than just to teach. But if you go in staff rooms today, wherever you are, you will hear teachers say, I just want to teach. I just haven't got time to teach. I can't get the curriculum done.
Yeah.
And the more we're saying that it's the teacher's fault that things aren't happening, they need more KPAs, they need more performance management, they need more training. You can't spray and pray with training. You've got to work deeply, consistently, and within your school environment, develop your pedagogy where we're learning. So I think the older teachers, more experienced teachers, are quite defeated and perhaps hanging on.
And they're about to retire. They're waiting for the end.
And they're not too invested in helping that young teacher get on their feet.
Yeah.
The younger teacher can't actually cope with some of the demand. How do you become psychologist, the social worker? You need to understand some basic elements of health management or URET for the depression and anxiety. They just can't. They just don't have emotional capacity.
Indeed. I mean,
or training.
You've got to be a parent when you aren't a parent yourself as a young teacher coming in and doing this. I want to ask you about, very quickly, I can see our time is running out here, but in terms of discipline, law and authority, because we know, and rightly so, it is a good thing that corporal punishment has been prohibited
100%.
under the Schools Act and affirmed by the Constitutional Court. But we removed that, and what have we given and replaced effective discipline systems with? Because I feel that sometimes teachers walk into this classroom to do their job, as we've said, and they can't actually discipline these kids. Is that also a big role to play?
It's significant, because how defeating that every hour you've got ruckus that you can't manage. So it's an interesting line of thought. I think teachers are stressed and dysregulated, economy, politics, whatever's going on in their own lives. And when we turn up in a classroom like that, the children co-regulate with us. So if we're having a difficult time, they tend to show us with their own behaviour.
Yeah.
We also can't seem to agree on what discipline is. So definitely not corporal punishment, no shaming, no embarrassment. But you also can't be permissive and entitled. And in many of the spaces in Johannesburg, teachers are terrified to bring any kind of discipline to the child because the parent will be in, and savagely so, not little bits, not what happened at school today, because he seems very upset. You will have annihilated the child.
You'll go straight to the teacher.
To you being the fault.
And I want to ask you this because, and please tell me if I'm out of line. Yes. I don't want to get into the story about what happened between the whole King David and Rodine incident. I don't want to go there into the politics of it all. But I want to have a look at the influence of parents over the school, because a lot of people are talking to this influence that parents possibly have, where they put so much pressure on the school that the school is now in a position where they're actually being run more by the parents than they are by what the values of the school actually stand for. Again, I don't want to focus on that story, but in general.
But that general trend.
Is that happening?
I think so in your fee-paying schools, and particularly on your high-end fee-paying schools. It's much more service delivery and a contractual arrangement.
Yeah.
And parents do have a feeling of entitlement. They're paying a very large fee. And I think the pressures of enrollment, admissions, numbers, results, it easily creeps in. But you do also need an absolute conviction of where your values are as a staff and as a board, because I think the Board of Governors drives that part. That's when a Board of Governors has to step in and say, this is the ethos of our school, here's where we stand, we're not going to be swayed on this or this, but simultaneously listen to the parents. Perhaps control that forum in that you call the forum to discuss issues before they're at the door outraged about something that just quickly unravels. But parents I say parents, we should never be universal with anything, right?
Yeah.
It's amazing to me to select schools that you really cherish and want to associate with. And then you go in and you doggedly try to change whatever that was that you were there to pursue.
Yeah.
So we have risk. But I think we also have time where, as schools, we stand up. We need to stand up and just be strong about it.
Indeed do. Yeah. I so badly want to continue this conversation and look at some of the things. I mean, it's going to take so much to change, but it's a devastating situation. We cannot lose our teachers. I know AI is creeping in as well, and but that can never replace a teacher. It really can't. Alison, thank you for opening the can of worms. We've now got to work out how we put these worms back into the can and try and control the situation in education. Alison Scott, Executive Head of Bellavista School, speaking about the challenges that teachers are facing in South Africa.